So in the continuation of covering Summer 5 over here on the NA version of the game, we have one of the better free-to-play servants coming back for newer players if you did not get them or you just were not playing, or if you're an older player but you just failed to get her on the first time, maybe you didn't finish the event, or you just weren't playing at the time because you were salty that you got absolutely blasted on the gacha. Summer Consort U though is definitely worth grinding up and using because they do a little bit of everything. They've got decent survivability, they have nice utility for the party, they could do some solid damage, and they have a very strong special damage mod. Like, they just do a little bit of everything. They're not the best servant that I've ever seen in my entire life. They're not nuts to butts broken, shaking up the meta, but she is very, very strong. And she is a servant that you probably will break out in like male archer fights or male berserker fights because she will absolutely cook those people up. And it's not like male servants are like all that uncommon, so you will get some usage out of her. Now, before we begin, if you have not already, make sure you leave a like on the video and you subscribe to the channel for that sweet daily FGO content, because even when your boy is on vacation as he is right now, I'm still going to make sure that you guys are informed on what is going on both versions of the game. Also, if you want to see me stream, I usually do that every weekday starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Obviously, right now I'm on vacation, so I'm kind of streaming when and where I'm able to. So if you want to catch me live, make sure you peep that link down in the description down below. But without further ado, let's go ahead and just start diving right into Summer U's kit, starting off with her hits. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, she is a single target quick lancer, so she is rocking a pretty strong quick deck with double quick cards, double buster cards, pretty standard for most lancer servants. It allows her to quick chain with her own NP and also do some nice buster crits if you have a couple of stars running around, which you should because she's a quick servant and genning stars is kind of the name of the game for quick servant. She's also got a decent 12.2% star gen stats with 3 hits apiece on both of those quick cards and only 4 hits on that extra attack, which is not the gold standard we like to see, but it should be enough to have some stars in rotation because, again, quick servants love to gen stars. She has an absolutely ludicrous 1.1% NP gain stat, meaning any crits that she does are going to massively refund her NP, especially in conjunction with her first skill. And it does mean that even if you haven't found a crit on, say, her arts card, it'll still just kind of naturally gen a decent bit of NP. Although if you're able to get a crit off of it, it'll gen a lot more. And just overall, again, not the best hits I've ever seen on a servant, but it's going to be enough to get the job done. But the skills are where a lot of her power is being concentrated, so let's just go ahead and start diving into some of her skills, starting off with that aforementioned skill 1. This is giving her some really insane survivability, giving her a 5-turn guts on a 6-turn cooldown, basically meaning that she will always have a guts being there as insurance, and there should only ever be 1 turn of downtime where she doesn't have this up. That's very, very strong because the only type of protection that the quick teams really offer from Scotty is a couple of hits off of her NP, right? If you've got like 2 of them ready to go, you can use one Scotty NP one turn and the other one the next turn, but I don't know how often I've had Scotty's NPs lined up and ready to go back to back for that consistent protection, so at least always having this guts kind of acting as a focus sash for your consort U, that's going to be very, very strong. But this is where things start to get a little interesting because at baseline level, she's going to give herself 20% NP gain for 3 turns, and she has 2 separate other NP gains that proc when she's on a water side or a sunlight battlefield. So if you're fighting on, say, a sunny beachfront, she will have 60% NP gain, or if you're just fighting outside in the nice sunshine, she'll have 40%, or if you're fighting on a water side battlefield, she'll at least have 40% as well. This can make Consort U either pretty good at looping her NP or absolutely ludicrous at looping her NP, because when you can get up to like 60%, you're just kind of looping your NP like an absolute madman. It typically means that anytime like a summer event comes out, because usually on summer events you're fighting on the water side because, well, summer, the beach, duh, and usually you're fighting outside when it's sunny. Usually for those events, she does really, really well, right? She does really good in some of those events because she just has massive NP gain that allows her to spam her NP all over the place. And it just makes for a very, very strong skill as far as keeping her alive and for making her a bit consistent. But if you need a bit more immediate power, you have her second skill, where instead of just getting raw NP gain, she also gives herself a 20% battery and then taunts all the enemies to her for 1 turn. Now, technically, it's not a 20% battery just for her because this is targetable. So again, in the future, if we get a quick support type servant that has a more worthwhile NP to go for, not that Scotty's is a bad NP, it's just that like, even after they buff it and give it the attack buff and everything, and it has the dodge and a little bit of crit damage, it's not as insane as like Castoria or Merlin's NP, or even Kolyanskaya's NP that charges your NP back. I'm suspecting the next quick support type servant we're going to get is going to have a really dummy, nutty, crazy NP, and so it means that whenever someone like that does inevitably come out, she'll have a little bit of that nice tech option there, and that instead of giving it to herself, because maybe she doesn't need it because the first skill is just going absolutely hard and refunding her NP, you can use this to charge your support's NP, which is a nice little bit of tech that she can do, but unfortunately right now, you're probably just going to target Scotty with that, and that's probably not going to do much, so you should probably just be selfish with it. But the nice thing as well is that since she does taunt herself, usually if you're bringing her to say like an archer battle, that's not really going to be all that big of a deal. You could take the heat off of your supports, and then she'll be taking resisted damage for that turn, essentially buying you a free turn as well. And then even if you're fighting someone like a berserker, you can taunt them to herself, but she at least has the guts to lean on. And especially if you want to combo it, like using this plus the guts to kind of like protect some of your other members, and then the guts is going to come like right back up if you time it correctly to where you're very close to like that 1 turn where the guts might come back up. You can do some very interesting things with it. Taunts are always very, very nice for harder, more difficult content because you can mess around with the boss and cut down on a lot of the RNG. But finally, there's her third skill, and this is just the skill that you always realistically want to have up. It gives herself 20% quick for 3 turns, which is fine in and of itself. It's not super insane. It's going to be helping out the damage of her quick cards a little bit. It's also going to help out the NP gain of her quick cards, but 20% is a little bit low. If she does actually get a buff, I might want to see them actually bring that up to like maybe 30 to 40%. I think that could be really, really cool. Or slap on like, let's say like an attack buff or an NP damage buff, because then she could double buff herself, and that would be really, really cool. But at the same time, she is also increasing the entire party's crit damage by 50% for 3 turns. So if you have another servant that's also a pseudo DPS, kind of like say Ruler Scotty, who's both a support but also a DPS, this is going to help someone out like that a lot by just giving them really strong crit damage. For those that are maybe like less familiar with FGO, 50% is the same crit damage buff that Waver gives to one person. She gives it to the entire party for free. So again, you kind of want to just click this whenever you have it, because even if you're not using her with other DPSs, I mean, it can make your like support Scotty do decent crits, right? Like I've seen them get up to like some decent crit numbers using Consort U, so you might be able to use like a Scotty Wayward crit to like break a break bar, right? And not have to waste an NP or something if it's low enough. And it just makes her very, very fun to use. But finally, there's her own NP. Not a whole lot going on here, but the main thing you're going to be using this for is that one, it's a free NP5 that you get from the event. So at baseline, it does some decent damage, but there's a very good special damage mod attached to that, and it is an anti-mail special damage mod. Now, that will multiply into the quick buff, but the reason I was wanting her to get like an attacker and NP damage buff is that whenever she's not fighting males, she would still be able to do some pretty good damage because she'd have those multiplicative buffs. But when you are fighting a male, you'll notice that her damage goes way up, go figure, because not only is she getting the damage mod, but that is multiplying into that quick buff that she has on skill 3 to give her even more damage. Now, there's some interesting little synergies you could try to use with her with like the curse damage that she does on overcharge. You could try to use her with like Van Gogh or something, because Van Gogh likes to play around with curse and everything, but I don't really think it's a thing that Consort U is really leaning into, and I really don't think Van Gogh needs the help either. Like if you've ever used Van Gogh, she's gonna spread curse damage around whether you like it or not. The burn could be really interesting, I guess, if they ever release like some pseudo quick DPS person that you could pair with Consort U that could take advantage of that burn. Otherwise, I don't know, if you wanted to be really hilarious, you could use her in conjunction with like Yang or something. I mean, funny enough, this is the event that did bring the Yang CE that gives you Pierce Invul and a special damage mod against burned people. Maybe you could use that on your Consort U if you pulled on the banner, you know, because then, oh, there we go, she gets like an extra damage mod or something if you really wanted to be quirky with it. But but I think there are definitely better CEs you could be using with Consort U. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Again, I'm very high on Consort U. I think she's really, really strong. I would have her as like a high A plus tier free-to-play servant, like something that you will probably use because she just does her job very well. Unless you have like some other anti-male person who just does it better, like maybe Maeve does it a little bit better because Maeve also like does really good support for the party, but then you're trying to go for like a 5-star servant, and the fact that Consort U could even kind of be in that discussion, I think plays into how good she is, because realistically, you're just spamming your NP all over the place, doing some nice crits, and if they're a male, you're kicking them in the nuts. But with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for future daily FGO content, and I'm out of here. Peace, late guys.